Happy New Year. Hope everybody had an enjoyable New Year's and or New Year's Day. Since this is the New Year, I guess we haven't had a New Year yet. Today we're going to talk about earthquakes. Okay, so we talked about economic collapse. We've talked about civil unrest. So now we're going to talk about earthquakes. Now, it's possible that the civil unrest is going to occur after an earthquake. So remember the things that we discussed about in the civil unrest, because that may become part of the plan here. But this one, we're going to focus primarily on the things that you do or you can do to, or you should be doing in the event that an earthquake occurs. So first off, earthquakes can happen anywhere across the globe. In the United States, the key areas are the Cascadia fault zone, San Andreas Fault, New Madrid Fault, which is in Missouri, and the fault lines that run along the Appalachian Mountains all the way up through New York City. So essentially, any place can have an earthquake. There are certain areas that when we talk about earthquakes, that we associate those locations with the earthquakes. California, everybody knows California is a fault zone. But some of the ones that aren't familiar with the New Madrid, which is the one that actually made the Mississippi run backwards and helped to establish Reelfoot Lake, or established Reelfoot Lake. And the reason it's New Madrid is because the original Madrid, Missouri, was now underneath the Mississippi River. Some people are not familiar with the fault lines and the earthquakes in New York City. So those are places that we need to, it doesn't matter where you are. You should always be cognizant of what's going on around you. Remember, situational awareness. I know a few years ago we had an earthquake in Virginia, Mineral, Virginia. Just a few days ago, maybe a week or so ago now, there was a couple that went off in Tennessee, just south of where we are now. So again, earthquakes can happen anywhere, anywhere that there is faults and that the stress is causing the earth to shift. It doesn't have to be the actual edges of a continental plate. So some of the things that you can think about. So before an earthquake occurs, you don't want to be complacent. Okay. I would say people in California are getting the ones in California along the West Coast are probably the ones the most likely to become complacent because they have so many of these tremors all the time. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just another little one, we'll be okay, as they sit there and stand in the doorway. Hopefully they at least get up and do that. So there's some chance of complacency that can be the thing that really causes you to falter, because when you become complacent, that spur that moves you to act is kind of nullified. So don't become complacent. Anytime the ground shakes, you need to be making sure that you're ready for whatever happens. Okay? Now, some of the things for in your house that you can do, no matter where you are, whether you're in California, Kentucky, Virginia, Alaska, Texas, it doesn't matter. Some of the things that you can do to help earthquake-proof your house is to attach the heavy furniture to the walls. So like heavy bookcases, especially like water heaters, especially those that are gas, because if those things pull away and the pipes pull out, then you're going to have gas spewing in there, and all it takes is a spark, and that'll set it up. Okay, so heavy furniture, excuse me, Um, Definitely the water heater you need to attach to the wall. Refrigerators, upright freezers, anything that's heavy that can be rattled or shaken, that can become something that can crush an individual, needs to really be attached to the studs on the wall. So there are kits that you can do, or that you can buy, that you can put up there, or you can just buy the strapping and then use um, the secure hooks. When you attach them to the wall, make sure that they're actually attached to the stud. Don't try to use the hollow wall anchors and anchor it to the drywall. It probably is not going to hold. And make sure it's not some half-inch little screw that just holds it up. I mean, it needs to be a 2.5 to 3 inch screw drilled into the stud in the wall. Additionally, the other side needs to be attached securely to the device. So whether it's a bookcase, if it's a wooden bookcase, then you can um, put a bolt or something in it. But I mean, yeah, it's going to look funny maybe, but I'm telling you, in the event that something happens, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an earthquake, it could be a tornado, it could be anything that's going to rock that house. All of that furniture becomes potential hazards, potential projectiles. So if you have them secured, then at least the odds of being crushed by that are lessened. Okay. Again, it's your choice. You can do as you wish, but that's what I recommend. I also recommend that you have some kind of a bug out bag or a small bag, at least a flashlight beside the bed of everybody in your home, because if the lights go out, whether you're going to the basement because of a tornado or whatever it is, having a flashlight beside each of the beds allows the person sleeping in the bed to grab the light and be able to go. Probably a good idea to also have a pair of slippers or something beside the bed. Now that's something that I don't do too often. I'm not the slipper kind of guy, but it is something that I should do, because in the event that you have to leave quickly, having them there and being able to put them on fast and get out is something that's going to help you. Okay, so again, ensure you have a flashlight. Ensure you secure any of the heavy objects that could potentially be a crushing hazard. And you definitely want to secure your water heater, especially if it's a gas water heater. So some of the other things that you might want to think about is having access to the handles for gas and water outside your house, especially if you live in town. Those in an earthquake, those that get shaken, that natural gas gets released. All it takes is a spark from a transformer or a power line, and you're going to have fires all over the place. So you want to be able to shut off the utilities as fast as you can. Electric, you want to shut it off. Gas, water. Okay. So those are some of the things that you can do before an earthquake actually occurs. In addition, remember, do not become complacent. Anytime something happens, you need to treat it as if it's the end of the world as you know it. Okay. And I know that sounds silly, and I know that may sound stupid, but I'm telling you, that reaction that you have if you become complacent, or the reaction that you don't have if you become complacent, could be the thing that causes you to lose your life. Okay, so I'm asking you, do not become complacent about anything. Treat it all as if it's the end of the world as you know it. If you do, then it does happen, then you're already going to react in the appropriate manner. The other thing that you need to do is you need to have a plan. And I know I preach this, and I'm kind of curious. If you're listening to this, if you would, please let me know if you have an actual written emergency plan. Just have to say yes or whatever, or email me or whatever if you don't want to let others know, because I'm just curious. I know that from past experiences when I've talked to people at expos and stuff, prepper expos, almost nobody actually has a written plan. Some of them have an idea, which is a plan in their head, but there's usually only one person out of a group who actually has a plan. So please, please, please get a plan. If you need help, let us know. We will be more than glad to help you. Okay. You need to have a contact plan. Who's contacting who? And when I was, in the Army, we used to have basically what we call telephone trees. So basically, inside of your plan, the group that you have, there should be a list of contacts and who is to contact who, so that if somebody doesn't get contacted, then you know something may be wrong. Okay. And when you mean contact, that means actually physically talk to them. If you can't actually talk to them, then you would skip that person and go to the next person. You keep calling until you actually get a hold of somebody. And the same is true, so that they go back. But this is something that's going to be pretty much after the fact, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But you need to have this contact plan, okay? And it needs to be part of the other plan. Speaking about the plan, and I know I've talked about this before, and I know you're probably getting tired of hearing it, but this plan that you create should have everything that you're going to do and need to do, what your resources and stuff are. So you need to treat this as if it's top secret classified, because for you it is, okay? It may not be for the government's TS, but for you, it absolutely is, okay? Because you do not want others outside of your group knowing what you're doing, okay? Or that you're even doing it. The thing that you want to do before, so these are all the things before, you want to identify safe sites. Especially for earthquakes. Now, I did a earthquake plan for a good friend in California, and one of the problems that I had was that I could not find a place close enough that was safe enough that would allow her to bug out. So basically, they had to shelter in place, and that may be the case for you as well. Okay. So that's what you need to identify, is what is the safe sites that are near you, okay? If you're going to shelter in place, then the things that we talked about just a few minutes ago about attaching the heavy furniture, making sure that you know where to turn off gas, water, and electric, and that you have the tools to do that readily at hand. Those are going to be critical things, because those are things that's going to make your site safe. Failing to do that will make your site unsafe, okay? Which leads us to the next one. You need to identify areas that are around you that are potential hazards, okay? So one of the things that we do at Great Living Sources is we do site selection, and basically, site selection and site evaluation. Site evaluation is where we evaluate your current location based on what it is that you're looking to protect yourself from. In this case, we're talking about earthquakes. So basically, we would look at all the facts, which includes the rock types, faults in the area, etc. And we identify what, excuse me, what things that you need to do or steps you need to take to make that site safe. Okay. Site selection is when you're looking for a site, but you're not sure where. So one of the things that we do is we evaluate. So we get the criteria from you, what it is that you're looking for. How many acres, what does it need to do, what are you going to do on it, etc. And then we find locations and we give you 3 to 5 potential sites that will meet this criteria. Okay. Both of these are a logical, methodical method of evaluating in places where you can be safe. Okay. One of the other things that you need to establish is who's in charge or who can initiate the plan. If anybody can initiate the plan, then that needs to, then at the first sign, whatever the event, whatever criteria you've established as this is when we will initiate our plan, then that needs to make sure that message gets out. Whether you're using, what do they call them? A cell phone or a pager, whatever it is. However you've identified that you're going to establish the initiation of your plan. Okay, so you need to identify that before. You also probably need to identify who's in charge, because if everybody's in charge, then no one's in charge, and things need to be delegated. There are certain things that people each can do better than some. So by selecting a person to be in charge that can take charge, who is a leader, and then delegating different things to different folks. Some people may be dealing with the supplies, some may be cooking, some may be part of the safety or security measures. They may be part of the perimeter patrols, guard duty, whatever. But by breaking it down and making sure that everybody knows what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to bring, then things will run a lot smoother and things will gel faster than if you have to figure this stuff all out during the event. That's not the time to be figuring this out, which leads to some of the next things, which is the situational awareness. Situational awareness, as we've talked about before, but in case you're new to these videos, situational awareness is basically that ability to maintain what's going on around you, or being cognizant of the events. Everything from, who's the person who just pulled in next to me? Are they looking to do something, nefarious? The tsunami is coming. That's staying situationally aware. The yellow vest, that's another thing that could be staying situationally aware. They got these kinds of people downtown, so that means I want to avoid that area for now because craziness is going to be going on. So whatever it is, maintaining an awareness of what's going on around you helps to eliminate some of the surprise. The same with having a plan. If you have a plan and you've thought all this out before, when this event occurs, the surprise is going to be greatly reduced. Okay? And the last thing is that you want to practice, and that's where we practice all of these things that we just talked about. We talk about who's going to be in charge, who's going to do what, who's bringing what, the telephone tree, how do you contact and who do you contact. All of these things help you to be ready for the event itself. Okay, so The next thing we're going to talk about is what to do during the event, or in some cases, maybe what not to do. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is remain calm. Okay, what's going to happen is going to happen, and there is nothing that you can do about it. If there is an earthquake going down, nobody that I've ever came across on this planet can stop an earthquake. Okay, so it's going to happen. Best thing that you can do is stay safe, right? Which is the next thing. Stay safe and seek shelter. So, that may be getting under a sturdy table, getting in the doorway of a house or your office, staying away from windows, which I have this large one over to my left. Especially like in some of the bigger office buildings. I mean, you have whole walls that are basically glass. Stay away from them. Get inside, get to the safest place in that location. Some buildings, like the ones in California, are designed to an earthquake code, which means that they can withstand a certain amount of shaking before things start to come unglued, in theory. But then there are others more in the central part, especially in the New Madrid area, where they are probably not as stringent on the earthquake code. I'm not even sure if they actually have an earthquake code there. So I know New York, at least at the time that I was there was no true earthquake code. The buildings were somewhat earthquake proof, but they are not really earthquake proof. So stay away from large glass plate windows. Find something that will protect you from debris falling, ceiling tiles, etc. You want to try to find some kind of a sturdy table or desk that you can get underneath. An earthquake is a little bit different than a tornado, where you want to go to the lowest part, because the lowest part of the building may not be the best part of the building. So basically what you should do is move toward the interior, towards like where a stairwell might be, because typically around the stairwells you're going to have more framing. When you build the structure, the framing around the doorways is a little more substantial usually. So head towards those kinds of places. The other reason I would head towards the stairway is because once the shaking stops, I'm going to do my best to get my butt out of that building. And especially if you're in some of these crazy high-rise buildings. That's why I'm not too keen on those guys. If you're if you have a, 2 or 3 story house or office building, one of the things that you can do is to buy those ladders that you can hang out the windows that allows you to escape from the window. You can put those in each of the upstairs rooms, like in a house, in a bedroom, because if something happens to the inside part, they can still get out of the house using those. Now, high rises, that's a little more tricky. I mean, unless you can link up and rappel out, that might not be the wisest idea. But you're going to want to eventually get out of that building as soon as you possibly can. Especially because with earthquakes, there's typical tremors that come aftershocks that come after the initial earthquake. So things can still get kind of dicey even after the actual earthquake has happened. And sometimes the aftershocks can be even stronger than the actual earthquake itself. So as soon as you can, you're going to want to vacate the building. You're going to want to help anybody that's around you. I mean, if somebody around you has, been injured or whatever, help them, get them to safety as well. And then you're going to wait until the actual event stops, when the building stops to shake. This may take a few seconds for you. You may still be shaken and the building has actually stopped. Trying to inflict a little humor in here. So, but yeah, so once the shaking stops, what you're going to do is evaluate, the area around you, ensure it's safe. So what's going on? Do you smell gas? Can you hear a hissing sound? Is anyone around you injured? If they are, then you should help them. If you are part of a group, then you want to contact a group and let them know, hey, I'm okay, I'm here. Where are we going to meet? Or we will meet. I'll meet you at whatever the rally point is that you've identified as where you all will link up at. If needed, you can call emergency services, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit more later. But if you're unable to contact the group and you're a part of a group, then as soon as possible you want to move to the designated safe area so that you guys can link up and then everybody knows that everybody's okay. All right. Now, there should be, if in an office building, there should be some kind of an office plan for emergency disasters that you guys should link up and rally somewhere so that they can get a head count to make sure that everybody is out of the building. You need to make sure that you do this before you actually move, if you're actually part of a family group plan. Because you could put rescuers' lives at risk if they think somebody is still in there and you're actually safe and out. You can endanger those rescuers or use up resources that can maybe be used somewhere else. So if you are part of an office, make sure that you have actually checked in with whoever is in charge of your emergency management. If you have an office and you do not have an emergency plan, you need to get one like yesterday. Okay, it's part of the requirements, but it also just makes plain sense. Okay, so make sure that you get a plan. Again, if you need help, let us know. We will help you, or we will do them for you, whatever you prefer. So emergency services, depending on the extent of this disaster, and how many other ones are going on around you, they may be overwhelmed. And if they become overwhelmed, contacting them to get life-saving first aid is not going to be beneficial, or may not be possible. So that's part of the reason why you should learn to do basic first aid. If you are not sure, then look around and ask around. Usually there are people there who have taken different types of first aid. So if somebody has an injury, help as much as you can and find somebody that can help them. If it's a very serious injury, then you probably would like to want to find somebody that can help treat these people. But simple cuts, abrasions, knocks on the head, those are things that you should be able to take care of by yourself and help others to do that. Okay. So those are that's kind of my list of things that you need to think about, things that you need to do. But I'm telling you that the most important, critical piece of your safety and keeping those that you love and care about safe is having a plan. And then everybody knowing what to do, when to do it, and how they're going to do it. Um, I, I, I cannot overemphasize this enough. Um, if you do not have a plan and would like the Great Living Sources to help you, contact me at guy@greatlivingsources.com. My email and the web link and stuff will be in the comments below. You can message me on Facebook under GL Sky or Great Living Sources, either one. I've also got Instagram and Twitter. You can probably find those. You can contact or leave a comment on this YouTube channel, but I would prefer you would email me because there's some questions that we really need to discuss in order to help you and to see what kinds of what your requirements are. One special note: people who have loved ones that have special needs, they need to really have a plan, because in the event of, like say in this case, an earthquake, emergency services are likely to be overwhelmed and for some period of time. So you need to have a plan how to take care of your loved one until such time that the emergency services can catch up and the medical facilities can catch up. You really, really, really need to have a plan. Okay, so I thank you. I wish you a happy new year. I hope that everybody stays safe. Remember the core of calm, and we will do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow we will talk about tsunamis. So we'll talk about some of the things that those, because again, earthquakes, tsunamis are associated with earthquakes mostly. So stay safe. Remember the core of calm, and we will talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.